everybody. But we are also on tape. We are deep and down in the bowels of Fleece Music. It's episode 89 of Kamloops last week. Christopher Folds, no Greg the engineer, no Bennett, but of course, Magic Mike and Bill.
There's Bill, yes.
89.
89. Oh, it's a good year. It's a good year. It's when the Soviet Union collapsed. The Berlin Wall came down, and the evil empire went away, only to be replaced by another evil empire, Vladimir Putin.
Do you remember where you were when that tear down that wall?
Yeah, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. That was Reagan. What a great president he was, a consequential president. I was in Edmonton, and it was quite. That was before internet, right? So the kids don't know that was big news. That was on every front page. Every newscast, TV, radio.
The Magic Mirror brought to you by Volkswagen. Magic Mike, do you remember that?
I do remember that, and it was pretty exciting. I was in grade 8, and the graduation class of 89, their song was Pink Floyd, The Wall, and it was a very big deal.
And Pink Floyd did a concert in front of the actual wall.
Yeah, I've actually been to
You've been to the wall?
Berlin and where the wall is. And,
wow.
And I traveled with one of our sales reps who lived in East Germany at the time, and he said that life was really great pre the wall coming down because they didn't want for anything. They had a barter system, and they played music 7 nights a week. And when the wall came down, a lot of greed also came in. So there was a flip side to that
Democracy.
as well.
Mike Biltmore, build up that wall. He wants it back.
But you know what? It was big major news. You know what else happened in '89 too? Bust a Move.
Oh,
that's the best and only rap song you should listen
Young
to.
MC?
Young MC.
Yeah,
Bust a Move.
Right. Guns N' Roses, Paradise City, Welcome to the Jungle.
Calgary Flames won the Stanley Cup.
That's not good. Joel Otto.
kicked the
I like
puck in
Gelato.
Overtime.
Gelato. We have a great show today. We have Katie Neustaeter, Kamloops City Councilor.
City Councilor. She's going to be talking about the proposed bylaw to ban drug use in the public. It's a very controversial bylaw with respect to the health authorities.
Bryce Herman as well, just the coolest cat in Kamloops. He's got his fingers in a lot of pies, and
one of them is the Why Dream Home, and he's the guy. He's all things Dream Home, and he'll be telling you how to get your ticket, where to get your ticket, and why you should get your ticket, and where the money goes to.
Also, Logan Stankoven, Shaun Clouston of the Kamloops Blazers. It's the greatest time in my career to cover the Kamloops Blazers is right now.
Is the best Blazers team this century, without a doubt, and they have a real chance of winning the World Cup the honest way by winning the league, because they are a juggernaut. And I think...
And Seattle is a juggernaut.
I think, and here I'm just going on a limb here, I think Kamloops wins the series.
Okay, in how many games?
6.
So, your weekend, this is real. Like, you had a really good weekend again, another busy weekend?
I had a very busy weekend, yeah. You know, it was just lots going on around the shop, but we started off yesterday. Actually, it was mostly yesterday. We started off with Boogie the Bridge, which was a fantastic event, number 25?
26.
26 years.
A lot of people were there, and when I got there, it was raining and gross, but that's actually good for the runners.
Good for the
and
runners.
Then it stopped raining, and then it was a perfect day.
Didn't stop people from coming out. We had a DJ, Olivia Grace DJ, there playing some music. We set up nice and early, and it was just, I love that event. That's a Kamloops event. They've raised like $1.5 million for the community to help people move, essentially.
We've got pics, and one of them has your stepdaughter in it.
Yes, that's right. She was a part of the dancing, a group of dancers from the Kamloops School of the Arts, and they did a dance in the pre-race celebrations, and Mike saw the
they were great. They were really, I thought it was actually a dance school.
Yeah.
But what's the teacher's name at
I can't remember because they have different teachers. She's in grade 7, Isabel. She's in the photo you sent me, and they practice all this, but it's a cool school because they have different disciplines and different teachers that teach them, even though it's elementary. They have their main teacher, but they have all these other teachers, and everything they learn is in an arts related theme. It's really cool.
They did just a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I had to leave early, Boogie the Bridge, so I didn't have to pack down, but we had the premier come and do a tour and a visit at the Guitar Factory here.
Was Ali D here?
Who?
Alan Douglas.
Yes, Alan Douglas.
We had Ali D come by.
He's here right now, probably.
Yes.
Somewhere.
He's fantastic. Ellen is another guy that's pretty amazing. He's taken lots of pictures over the years and worked, and he lived in the Arctic, I found out.
He did.
EB.
He's probably ridden a polar bear and
Yes.
photos while he's doing it.
Premier EB came and took a tour and had heard about our award that we had won and was really tickled. He plays guitar.
Did he play a bit for you?
Yeah, we jammed
Good,
for a
good
bit.
stuff.
Yeah, it was really good. So
Excellent.
So tall and such great hair, right?
He's a tall drink of water.
not too many people I can stand beside and not kind of get into that rock star look kind of a thing, and I have to kind of be a little taller.
I think you also had one of your affiliates, and I love to show this photo, so any excuse with you talking to Prince William, your best friend, but what was going on there?
Well, so this is pretty exciting because we have associates all around the world, one of which is our sourcing partner from Ireland. He's our sales manager. He helps us with our guitar production and that kind of a thing. And he won recently the King's Award for Commerce, which is obviously the first King's Award, but
right.
one of two companies from Ireland to win this. He's going to go meet the King, and a lot of it has to do with his help with our company growing and winning the awards that we've won lately. And they used a picture from when we gave a guitar to Prince William and Kate, and that was
What was that interaction like? I think I might have asked you before, but did you actually say anything to
Kelowna,
them?
right?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So it was in Kelowna. So there's a few things that happened. First thing that happened is we had the golden ticket. It was like Mike Miltimore and guest, which causes all sorts of problems when you have a sister that's the same as you, and your mom thinks that your sister should go. And
What about your wife?
That's what I said.
Well, she probably broke an ankle and couldn't go because he left something in the doorway.
So Monica went with me, which was really great. And then there's all sorts of rules, like don't talk unless you're talking to, and address them this way. So I'm reading all these rules, and then casual business wear. I went down to McAllister and Howard, and they dressed me so that I'd be like
That's
okay.
a little more than casual. That's a nice store.
It's a very nice store. I brought my wardrobe to them. I said, "Does this belt work?" No, you can't have that belt. But what happened was Premier. Clark, thank you. Wow.
It was Christy
Thank you,
Clark.
Bill.
Yeah, Christy
right?
Clark.
Yeah.
Premier Christy Clark introduced me. Said, "This is Mike Miltimore. He's built guitars for Paul McCartney. He's done this. He's done that. And we've had a guitar built for you. Come on over here." And he goes, "Mike, great to meet you." And he put out his hand. I shook his hand and offered to teach him guitar lessons. And
Of course you did. How's his handshake?
his handshake's great. Yeah, you know what? They're really warm and genuine. It feels like when you're talking to them, you're in the moment with them.
Yeah.
And it was very natural and easy to talk to
You
him.
shook the hand of the future king, which is pretty cool. Because once Charles kicks the bucket, he's the king.
He's the guy, yeah,
That's right.
yeah. And they gave me words. The royal family has given me a decree that I can say, and it's fit for royalty. That's Riversong Guitars. So
Really?
Look at
yeah,
Is that is that the logo now? Is that the tagline?
it's not the tagline.
Should be.
We're the acoustic guitar that plays like electric, but we're fit for royalty.
I think you're fit for royalty. That's good.
Yeah.
New subject here. I had a couple of dreams last night. We'll go to Councillor Chris to get your analysis on this. They were both nightmares. I don't think I've had a good dream. Do you ever have good dreams?
Yes.
These days, you say you have good dreams.
I constantly have good dreams.
Yeah.
They're weird dreams, but it's
But
always
you wake up happy.
Yeah, I always.
Does he look like a guy who's ever
Have
woken
you
up?
ever had a nightmare in your life?
Well, okay. In grade 8, I dreamed that dogs were barking in front of my face, and I couldn't wake up. That was the worst.
I'm troubled, man. It's nightmare after night. I had 2 car crash nightmares last night, and one of them, Byron McCorkle, I had crashed with him, and we were going to fight after, and then the dream ended. So, any thoughts there? What does that
I'd
mean?
take McCorkle on a bet on that fight.
Yeah, I was going to say,
He's a
who
big
would you
man.
take in that one?
No, I think, if you dream of crashing or you dream of any kind of damage or you dream of it's also impending doom, it just means you are stricken with anxiety and you have to get to the root of that.
Yeah.
You have anxiety. I don't know what about.
Oh.
You got things going on. You're single. You don't have to worry about kids. You have a wife nagging you. And you're doing your own. You got your own hours. You get to travel to Seattle to cover the Blazers. You're living the life of Riley, and you're having dreams of impending doom.
All I can see is just the next disaster that's around the corner and focus on past disasters. That's all I see.
Well, that's negative thinking. And,
Yeah,
and,
well,
and if you think
I'm
it,
trying to
you know,
stop
there's
it.
an old saying: if you think it, it'll happen. Well, if you keep thinking about negative shit, it's happening. That's why you're still single.
I think
you have to think positively. That's what I said. We were out on last Friday, me, you, and Jack Bell. And we went to Browns. We go to Browns on maybe once a week, every 2 weeks because they
hold
have
on for a second. Hold on for a second. I don't seem. Maybe those invites have gone in the trash.
We're at work, right? We're working hard, and we go for the happy hour. Usually on a Friday, maybe a Thursday. We sit at. It's a great bar. They have the like a bar, like the nice square bar. They have the games on there. And we just talk and we just relax. It's a great happy hour. $5 beers. It's a great deal. So we were there. We're sitting there, and our coworker who works from home, Fernanda, it was her birthday. She comes in and she sees us and she gives us a hug. And then later her husband came over and said, hey, can you come over and sing happy birthday as a surprise? Yeah, we did. Anyway, my whole point is there was a lovely young lass there and sitting with them. And Marty noticed her and I noticed her. And I said, well, you got to, and she's 32, about a decade younger than him. But
you
still
could tell that just by looking at her. She was 32?
We found out. Because
how did you know that?
It's
It's social media creeping that he'd already done.
It's Fernanda's daughter. And we asked her about that. And she says she's single, she's 32, she lives. And I'm like, there's your opening. So that's a positive thinking thing. So you're going to pursue that, right? Not pursue her, but you pursue
I've already reached out to her and we were chatting and we're probably going to meet up. So
what are you worried about then?
I just wasn't thinking about that. I would just, this was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As a counselor, I'd say that's what you should be thinking about, and you won't have a dream.
The number of people with mental issues on the street would skyrocket. You'd be like, you get anxiety? Toughen up. Get out of here. That's Councillor Chris.
I'm just saying. I mean, there's legit anxiety out there.
Yeah, I know.
But I just think there's also people who just need to just toughen up, and
yeah.
you do. But you're one of them. Just toughen it up. you have a possible opportunity, but you got to remember this though, and this is your happiness cannot be tied to someone else.
No, I know.
Remember
it's
that.
a lot
There you
deeper
go.
than that. Though.
Yes, I'm just saying.
Anyway,
You should play guitar.
Yeah,
music is a therapy. There's music therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real deal. It's a real thing. Yeah, actually, you've been exercising, which I think I'm
heavily
very
exercising.
I think that's very. It's admirable that you're going out, even though you're in this fog of depression. I've been there, and they say the best thing for feeling down, depression, anxiety, is to get the endorphins going because they act as a natural Prozac, and you got to exercise.
That's the issue. Normally, when I'm
is-
in downs, I do that and I feel great. It's just not going away this time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
let's
something
switch
different,
topics here.
Yeah.
Well, I like you, Marty. I just want you to know
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
But that's one thing you're doing, which is good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go into the Russians.
What about you with dreams? Do you have nightmares or good dreams?
I have good and bad and in the middle, and I remember and I don't remember, depending on what I'm doing the night before. Sometimes it's tied to what you've been doing the night before or things you're thinking about. Anxiety is one of them. Yeah, I dream. The predominant dream I have, and it's probably once or twice a week I'll have a dream. It's a work-related dream that it's like 2 o'clock deadlines away, and I have 15 pages to do, and I'm falling behind, and you're panicking, and you wake up, you're like, that's great. That's the dream, and that again is tied to something in your life that you haven't. I haven't done my taxes for the last 2 years. It's probably due to that, or you haven't done this or that, and
You're stressing me out.
But you make so much money and your wife that you don't have to worry about the penalities.
No, I just haven't got around to it. It's very busy. I mean, I worked all weekend. Right there you go. No, but they'll tell you, and I don't know. Some people say dreams don't mean anything, and you don't get all Freud on me. But if I've found that if you're dreaming about stuff like that, like crashing your car, or things, you're at work and you're stressed out and you're missing deadline. To me, logic says it's tied to something in your real life that you have to resolve. Right? That's all.
Okay. Well, remember that one this is going on a long time. Remember that one dream I had that I texted you? It was like that hellscape one.
Yes.
That was
freaky.
Like really freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was like a wake up call. It was like I need to.
Did you go to church after that with your buddy? You did. You did, though. Your dad
Father, I have sinned. Yeah.
His dad is a renowned pastor. He actually runs the Regent College of Theology.
He's going to be. They're making him like an honorary Anglican priest. So he's a big deal. Double doctor, reverend, pastor, and now he's going to be an Anglican.
He's got a doctorate in chemistry and a doctorate in theology.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
St.
he's written
Andrews.
Books that we can't even understand.
St. Andrews for theology and Queen's for chemistry.
Yeah, and he's at UBC. He's the big cheese of the theology department at the Regent College at UBC.
He's a little bit smarter than me.
I think, though, you started going to church, and you said your buddy, what's his name?
Still going to go back.
Krauser took you there.
Yeah,
and you said you're going to go back.
I did. Yeah, I went back, and then
because again, you know how they say
Pastor Dave
music
Fields.
therapy and
I like
everything?
Pastor Dave Fields.
Religion. It doesn't have to be religion. It's community. A community.
I think religion might be the source of some of my issues too, but I don't blame religion. But there's some issues with religion too. But we're really getting deep here.
Well,
okay, we had a great weekend though, didn't we? All three of us.
Absolutely. In the
What were we
rain
doing?
with our raincoats on.
oh yes, because it was raining on the weekend.
But where were we though?
Well, because Kamloops is what we're trying to to be about. We also wanted to showcase at the Indigenous Games. We're trying to get them here, and we thought we would go and again go for another hike. And we started off in Valley View at McDonald's.
That's right, because we had to get coffee to get our energy up, right? To get that caffeine boost, because we were going to cross the river and we were going to climb up to Mount Paul, but we had to first stop at the band office to get the permission.
Get the permission, yeah.
And they said, oh, if you're doing it for this, you can go. And then,
But Chris, of course, he gets in his Volkswagen and he starts going 130 on the bandland. So we're in trouble right off the bat.
right off the bat. That's right, because it was a standard. I don't drive stick, so we were.
That's why I was going 130. It's just, but it was in first. It was really weird.
It was whining. It was whining quite high.
And it turns out he had a couple of beverages, so he got pulled over, and we had to take him. We had to go to the drunk tank, but luckily in the drunk tank there was this beautiful bed.
And we slept like babies.
Beautiful bed from Gorge Appliance.
Well, with the city just got $15.5 million from the federal government, and then part of that they bought a bunch of new Sealy's for the cells at the RCMP detachment. So that was good timing for me. Yeah, it was really good. Yes, I didn't want to leave.
And we don't condone drinking and driving either. I mean, he actually it was proven that he hadn't been.
No, what it was I blew 8.9 on the caffeine scale, and I was too jittery, and they said you got to come in and just calm down.
There's something going on with this guy.
But they thought he was drunk, so they kept on feeding him chicken Big Macs to absorb all the alcohol.
But it was actually absorbing the caffeine, and I just fell right asleep on that mattress.
And unfortunately, later we had to go, because once he got up, we had to go to the Y Dream Home, and everyone was milling about, and Folds has got so many burgers in it and all this caffeine. He throws up in the Dream Home. Not good.
Yeah, that was pretty bizarre and tough.
I don't remember that happening, but I could have.
It was a chicken Big Macs. That's part. But yeah, here's our segue. Here we go. Right like this.
This has been a car crash. If it was a car crash, it would be safe in the
It was fine until you brought in the vomitorium. It was fine until that point.
Until what?
Until you brought in the vomit. It was
but that's
fine.
just what happened on the weekend.
I don't know. I feel like it went off the rails when you got arrested with the DUI or something.
Too much coffee.
And why did we get thrown in the drunk tank too?
I just hope we still have sponsors.
I just
hope so too.
I think we need to have a meeting beforehand to talk about the spontaneous story.
Yeah. Let's move on to Above the Folds before we get into more trouble. It's brought to you by Gorge Appliance and Mattress Center.
It's dark today.
Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please. Friggin' $500 hydro bill piece of trash. I need to speak to Gord on the 9er.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal. You should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can try some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money's not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle of the road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if you can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go, seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
Always on his phone, Chris Folds. Katie Neustaeter.
Hello.
Let's talk about the weekend first.
Yeah.
Okay, you were busy. Why don't you just start wherever you want to start? There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on in Kamloops, which is exactly what we want. That's the sign of a good weekend. So the biggest feature that was happening in Kamloops this weekend, well, I mean, there are really two. So Boogie the Bridge, always a phenomenal community event. Love it every single year. Fantastic turnout. The energy was there. Really pumped about it. But what was really nice is that it coincided with the delegation from the North American Indigenous Games bid. We're also here. So 4 members of that team here looking at Kamloops for a very likely possibility of hosting the games in 2027.
So you were part of the wooing committee, kind of.
Yes.
Of showing off our city, of telling them this is why you should come to Kamloops. So what were you telling them?
Well, they had 4 packed days. They got to tour our facilities, see what Kamloops had to offer. But you know, what always comes across with Kamloops in the end is the people. And they got to meet, you know, the best of Kamloops. They got to see the heart of this community. I think they really got the message that if the games are here, this is what Kamloops and area will be concentrated on. And of course, to Kamloops is just so exceptional in the way that they represent themselves and their generosity of partnership. And so really seeing what it looks like for all of our surrounding nations to come together and to support those games and to support the youth, which is really what those games are about, I think that really shone through. But it was a wonderful weekend. The Premier showed up yesterday for the very last event, and I have to say he was so generous with his time, and he was there all day and accessible to all. So it was a really great showing on the part of Kamloops.
And he was so tall, and Folds is obsessed with his height.
Yeah, I've met him a few times, and he's, you gotta look up and you have to go get a massage after interviewing him.
Right?
He's like a huge giraffe.
It kind of surprises you every time. I played basketball with him, and he went to go take the tip, and they had to sub him out because it wasn't fair because nobody else stood a chance.
Manute Bol looks like a midget next to David Eby. Yeah, it was good. I was there on Saturday at the TCC for two and a half hours, and they had a nice reception, and then they had some traditional games on the floor. You were throwing some things.
It was a blast.
And I think Wilbur Morgan is one of the judges' names, one of the delegates' names, and I had a long discussion with him. He's from the Southern Ute tribe in Colorado. And he was blown away by Kamloops. And he said they got video and they received photos and information beforehand. But he said when you land here, you have to be here to appreciate it. And he really liked Mount Peter and Paul. Reminds him of a mountain in his home reservation. It's a mountain, I can't remember the name, but it's like a resting chief. It looks like a chief. And he did say Calgary was impressive. He said Calgary reminds him very much like Denver. And he said there's two different, the cool thing is it's two different bids. One is a big city with a lot of old Olympic stuff, existing Olympic infrastructure, but the Kamloops one is more on its own. It's not spread out, you know what I mean? And he did say that, he did mention that the Indigenous-led aspect of this one, as opposed to Calgary, all he said was this interesting. Plus, as I talked to him, he was just talking to Nancy Green-Rain. And when I mentioned, I said, do you realize you're talking to Canada's athlete of the century?
Of the century.
He goes, of the century? I said, well, last century, not this century. But so he was quite thrilled to be talking to her because he heard about her beforehand. So it was really cool.
Yeah, and the Rains were really generous with their time, too. They came down every single day to be part of that and to meet and greet. And all of our community did. And we'll take that underdog thing any day of the week here in Kamloops. We will show up with more heart than a city 10 times our size any day.
I think it's a done deal. I think I'll bet right now.
We want the games.
It's done. It's done. If we don't get it, I'll eat this bug.
And I will come back for that.
Yes. So you're going to eat this plastic bug?
Yeah, it's done. No, it's seriously, I'm serious. There's no bigger bet than this. It's done.
I think that was a for sure real bet. So I'm not sure which. I want the games too, but
there's no competition.
We're rolling. We have this.
For the reasons we cited, it's a done deal. So and it's common sense. We're going to get it. So
it felt great. It really felt great.
Okay, let's switch gears to the topic of the day. Your notice of motion. Why?
Yeah. So at this point, it is a motion that was successful. Yes. So we are into, moving towards that bylaw and the readings that happen. The why is that I think it's time for something to change. And there aren't that many levers that we can pull at the local level when we want to see these large-scale changes. And I was looking for an opportunity that was really clear, a way into the subject matter and to the changes that we hear our residents saying that was reasonable, that was common sense, that seemed like everyone should be able to get behind, and that would spur further action forward. So this is the beginning of what I hope is a path towards greater solutions. And, decriminalization, that's way above my pay grade. That's a decision that was made to pilot in our province. I see the logic behind it. I think harm reduction, I am pro harm reduction. I think it's a critical piece of healing people, of creating safety for those who use and who experience substance use and misuse and addiction, but it cannot stand alone. And what I think about decriminalization is that it lacks the guardrails to make it successful. And when we look at the safe implementation of harm reduction, what does it look like when it's successful? It has to be wrapped around in all 4 pillars, which is something that I've been talking about, pre-election, pre-campaign, all of that is the model for successful harm reduction. And it has to include enforcement, treatment, and prevention along with harm reduction. And I do not see that happening in this province, and I certainly do not see it in our community. And so this is a way to begin that conversation and to begin building up those pillars.
Had you been hearing kind of increased public outcry from the people of our city about this issue.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, who hasn't? And it is reasonable outcry. And of course, we talk about this, using substances, illicit substances, in places where there are children. And that is absolutely true. And people kind of talk about that being playgrounds and parks. But it's so much more than that. Our businesses, every single day, our business owners are going and having that paraphernalia in front of their businesses that they have to clean up. I've talked to 3 families who witnessed overdoses outside of the library in the last couple of weeks as they're going in there with their children. It's about public spaces in general, and maybe parks and playgrounds are a way to find our way into that conversation, but it's much larger than that as well. But certainly this is something that people are expressing concern over.
It's a no-brainer in that when the decriminalization law came in on January 26th of this year, it's only been here for 3 months and has done nothing to stem the tide of deaths. But when it came in, it came with caveats. You can't do drugs. You can't have drugs on your possession on school grounds. You can't have drugs on your possession if you're under 17 years old. I didn't hear any outcry from social advocates over that. So this is just one step further, in my opinion. The only thing, and parks is a good idea, and we had a good talk on last week at True when I said, I have my weekly pickleball game with the boys, and afterwards the greatest thing is to have 2 or 3 beer on a bench in Riverside or McDonald Park. We're breaking the law. If I was doing heroin, I wouldn't be breaking the law. It's bizarre. Yeah. But we were talking about your motion, and I know 2 councillors voted against it, Nancy Beppel and Dale Bass, but both of them said they might have been on side if you had just narrowed it down rather than all public spaces, just parks. I think we all agree parks should be an extension of playgrounds. What do you think of that? The whole all public spaces is a little bit too much from their opinion.
Well, first of all, I'd like to back it up just a little and say it is so important that we have robust conversation around that table. I mean, if we're in that space and no one has a counter opinion and no one has pushback or new thoughts to offer, we're not representing well in that space. So I would say it's really important that we appreciate and respect those opinions that happen around the table. And then to your point, my idea was to start broad because we knew it was going to be challenged. This bylaw wasn't going to sail through. This is something that is on the provincial radar. It's something that health authorities have already pushed back against. So I was less concerned about the details of where this started, and a broad scope allows us to have space to move for whatever comes next, whatever that challenge might look like. So that was strategic on my part. I think that those are valid points. I think it's closer to where we might end up if it's successful in the end.
Well,
but I wanted to start with
I want 10, but you really wanted 6.
This is exactly it.
Okay.
You got to start somewhere. And also, again, part of that was intentional in recognizing that businesses are crying out in our city.
Yeah, they are.
They're also struggling. And so just to say, we don't only want kids witnessing this, that is not the only impact. So how do we create safe places for people to use who are dependent on substances, where they can have their drugs tested, where safe injection exists, but we can also remove this from the impact that it's having on the larger community.
Have you heard any other criticisms? What else have you heard? You talk about robust conversation. What else has been kind of brought up in opposition to what you're trying to do?
Well, Interior Health did write that letter eventually, and it was my understanding initially that they were specifically going to write our council and talk about their concerns, and then we would have a meeting. That's not exactly how it went. They did distribute that letter across the province instead. We have yet to have a meeting with Dr. Carol Fenton, so I'm hoping that happens soon. We're sort of waiting on their move. But the pieces of pushback that existed on there, if you listen to our council meetings, if you look at how I framed this motion and the pitch that I made, every single one of those concerns were addressed, and we had conversation around in those meetings before voting it through. One of them is you can't ticket people. Folks who are already vulnerable and marginalized, they don't have the dollars to pay.
It's a pointless exercise.
It absolutely
and that's what
is.
Dr. Fenton brought up in an interview. She said, if you ticket them, you're going to ruin adversely impact their lives because they can't afford to it, and the thing was no, it's just more about just moving them. Saying, this is not the right place to do it. This is the right place to do it.
Exactly, and again, a straw man argument, right?
Yeah.
Because clearly we said this is not about ticketing. Our CSO officers will know that. There was great conversation with the director with Byron McCorkle, and so again, that is from the beginning the intention. It's about creating solutions, and if we shoot down solutions by trying to poke holes in it instead of coming together at the table to create a path forward, we will never see change. And right now, an average, it's just under, but approximately 7 people a day dying in our province that That's over 11,000 since this emergency was declared. We have to do something different. This is not working. It is not working.
It hasn't worked since 16.
Yeah, and we have 15% of people who are dying from drug overdoses in this province are doing so in outdoor spaces. Create solutions for that 15%. Expand hours around safe injection. Make sure that we have the enforcement that is trauma-informed to be able to move people to locations that are safe, that are appropriate, where we can test those drugs, and then destigmatize help for those other 85% who are doing so indoors. And I think that that is doable. I truly believe that if we came together in space, we could get those things done. And we have ideas for all three of those pillars that we could support. And again, Dr. Carol Fenton said, we don't have time to be working upstream. We are so busy downstream. We are so overwhelmed in the health system that we don't have time. That's great. I will be the first person to put up my hand and say, I'll hike upstream. I'll go do the work, but let me do it. Don't block it every step of the way.
How long until you'd like to see, or how long can we kind of expect to see some kind of tangible change and that results from this?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you that, but it is going to be one step at a time. Like I said, I would have expected to have met with Interior Health sooner than now. They certainly have our contact information. I have individually sent mine to Dr. Carol Fenton, my cell phone number and my email a number of times. I hope that it will happen very soon. But we continue to work on our strategies, our path forward. You see other municipalities in the province doing the same. You know, Kelowna came forward yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, and the mayor said, what if this looked like a provincial initiative? What if we said no illicit drug use in any parks and playgrounds around the province? Isn't that possible? Isn't that doable? And again, that was the impetus of this notice of motion for me, is what if we all spoke with one voice? What if we didn't wait till UBCM to try and bring something formal forward? What if it was grassroots and came up from the ground? And eventually, we will have to be heard if we voice these concerns. This has to be in the interest of all community. We do not have to pick, do we allow people to die in spaces alone from illicit drug use? That is not okay. But we don't have to choose that or open drug use everywhere, free for all. It does not have to be an either or.
Now, Bill Sarai, your colleague, he's been very critical of IH and Dr. Fenton on this issue, and I see why too. I can see his point, and his view is that Dr. Fenton and IH's approach is more of an enabling approach, rather than saying his view, and I think it would be my view, is the ultimate goal would be to get the person with the addiction off the addiction so they can get their lives better. His view is that what IH is doing is, rather than focus on that, they're just focused on getting in more places to do the drugs safely, which is a laudable goal because you want to save a life. Dr. Fenton has said the city should be looking at more places where people can do their drugs under supervision so there's no deaths. We had the mayor on the show last week, and I said I think there was only 2 supervised drug use sites. He says no, there's more. His view is that all the social housing places have and the shelters have supervised places. We saw one at the Out of the Cold Stirwood. It's very interesting. If a person wants to use, they go into this room, private, and then the volunteers and staff watch and monitor, and to make sure that the person doesn't OD, or if they do, they can get to them. Would that be a viable? From IH's point of view, are there more places where people can use under supervision? It seems like a simple thing to do.
So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
But first of all, I wouldn't use the word enabling because I think that really projects an intention on IH.
That was Bill's word.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's a view of a lot of people.
Absolutely.
They see that as
I'm
an
just
enabling
saying
thing.
I wouldn't use the word
that.
enabling for that, knowing their desired outcome and that's not what it is. That being said, Interior Health is the expert in health. That is their, but we are experts in community. We are verified, voted, elected experts in community, and we need a whole community approach. So first of all, there are multiple places, yes, where safe injection is a possibility. The hours for safe injection do need to be expanded. We need to know that if we transport someone from place A to place B, that will exist, that will be possible. That is not the responsibility of local government. We do not have funding to be able to expand those hours. That is a provincial responsibility. And so so I could not agree more that those hours need to be expanded, but we need to be incredibly careful that we stay in our lane. Because the day we start spending taxpayer dollars on those kinds of activities, those kinds of fundings, that becomes our responsibility in perpetuity. And that is not what our mandate is. So we need to be tremendously careful about what that looks like. But without a shadow of a doubt, part of the solution has to be that. If the goal is people who need to use need to have that availability, then yes, but it has to be within a safe structure. And when you look at decriminalization around the world in places where it's been most successful, so Portugal, Germany, those kinds of countries, yes, it was decriminalized. The intention of that is to remove the stigma that exists around the person. So it's destigmatizing people. But they mandated where that could happen. It wasn't just a free-for-all. It was, here is the location where you can do that. Here are the barriers that we have put in place to ensure that you're safe and that the public is safe. So that is what we need to move towards. And in some ways I see this, do you remember in the 90s when counterattack happened? So drunk driving was at its very peak height. And ICBC said, we want to stop that. We see deaths occurring. They are preventable. There's something we can do about it. And instead of saying we're going to teach people how to safely drive drunk, they said we are going to teach people alternatives for staying safe so that they don't get in that car, so that they don't put others at risk. And I see an inversion of that equation happening right now with IH. And that is exactly what it needs to be, is here are the ways, call a cab, call a friend, here's what it looks like to be able to go out and have a good time and get home safely without endangering others. And that needs to happen here too, where it says we understand the dependency, we understand that this is where you are at in your addiction. Here is a safe way to use that does not impact others. And we need a counterattack in this province. And, I had a really interesting conversation with a few employees during the election. There was a workshop day, for lack of a better word, and I joined this table of educators who works in SD 73, and I said, tell me, what do you tell students when you go into the schools? And they told me all about, here's how we tell them how to use safely, here's how we tell them not to be alone when you, and eventually I kind of broke in and said, but what do you tell them about not doing drugs? What do you tell them about not starting? And they said, well, kids are going to use drugs, so we want to teach them to use safely. And to me, that is the counterattack argument that says, kids do not have to use drugs. This is not an inevitability. What are we doing to educate and prevent as we watch this snowball gathering steam seemingly relentlessly? And so these are the places where we need to begin.
Yep, absolutely.
One question on mayor and council, different topic. Anything to report on any sort of healing that's gone on there?
I think, this weekend was a really beautiful example of what's possible. And again, as we appreciate our relationship with Tk'emlúps what a beautiful table they set for coming together and building camaraderie and relationships. And I mean, I've said from the beginning, and I continue it now, I am nothing but hopeful. And you have 9 elected people around that table, and it is our duty and obligation to Kamloops to work together, and that is my commitment every single day. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean that we will, leave this term unbruised, each one of us in our own way, but of course I am hopeful. I have no choice but to be hopeful that we will work together. And I see all of us growing in this role and into this role. And again, we want the same thing. I look at those 9 people. I've never been in an easier strategic planning session than those days were, because we all want the same thing. We're all headed in the same direction. We have some philosophical differences in how you get there and what it looks like to move through a corporate structure, what is helpful, what is not. But I believe we're all growing in that role and hopefully towards each other as well.
Are those meetings easier when the mayor calls in sick? No.
No, it is better to have the voices at the table. And again, Kamloops truly said, these are the perspectives we want in the room, and so it makes us better.
I saw him on the weekend. He was actually laughing and talking with some councillors, and that was interesting. And he had the line of the weekend. He had the line of the weekend. He made a speech at TCC, and then he went away, and then Roseanne went up there and a few other people, and then he goes, one more thing, and he goes up there and he looks at the 4 delegates and goes, just one other thing. I've been to Calgary, and it snows in July sometimes.
And it never snows here. And again, that is part of his superpower, is that he is succinct, he gets to the point, he has a good good. Yeah, and we were, I mean, I shouldn't say we, I should only speak of myself, but I was really proud of him this weekend, watching him move through this. Yeah, and again, as we all learn to lean into our strengths, and then also bring each other's strengths into the equation. We saw that, you know, he created space for Councillor Sarai to speak, you know, in those moments, and I mean, Phil just gave impassioned speeches for why the NAG Games should be here, and that was an appropriate role for him as the chair of the Community Relations and Reconciliation Committee, who's worked in that space for 8 years now. And again, if we can keep doing that, we will see greater success. But I mean, if there's one thing that I'd love for Kamloops to know, it's that the work is better than it might look on the surface. And the more we move away from those things, the more we lean into what we can accomplish, the better it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. We have to move on. Bryce Herman's waiting. This has been fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Volkswagen.
Hair's hanging out of my ear.
Your wax there.
Bring on the waxer! Waxer!
Bryce Herman, glowing as ever. No earwax, no nose hairs flying around, just looking great. Thanks for being here today.
Hey, thanks very much, and I'm glad you noticed all of that grooming.
So why are you here? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Why Dream Home Lottery. It seems to be front and center these days, and certainly going along very well, Marty.
How are the ticket sales going?
Ticket sales are going really well. We're currently sitting about 90% of our value packs sold. So we have, you know, a small number of those left, but they're going quickly. And of course, you know, we talk about it like everybody out there knows what that is. Of course, those are packages of 5 at $400. Single tickets still $100 a piece. We're over 50, I think it's around 57% sold in the entire lottery. And when you consider that we just got started at the beginning of the month, we're pretty excited about the record we're moving on. So.
Did you buy one yet?
I did. I was out there. I was at they had an open house or like a sponsors night, and CHBA was there. I told you about this. Jeremy Kneshaw was singing with the Riverside song guitar.
It's a silent K.
Some good food. Uptown Caterers, was that it? No.
Yeah, Uptown Chefs.
Uptown Chefs
from
Romeo's. They were there, and you got to tour the whole house. It's beautiful, right? Nice house. And then I bought a ticket as I left.
And I think he even had a wobbly pot.
You did. Probably had a couple.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And, he may or may not have.
And it's in Juniper.
Yeah.
And in Coldwater, way up there, so it's got a beautiful view.
Sure does.
Why don't you tell us about the house?
The house is a little over 2,400 square feet. It's been built to a step level 4, which really means that it's about 40% more efficient than a standard built home. So it's one of those things where it's always we're trying to achieve those higher levels. It will be the standard building code for 2027, so we're that much further ahead. We're 4 years ahead of the demand on that particular code, but it just allows the lucky winner to have, you know, just that much more efficiency within the home as well. So it's a pretty stunning home. It's somewhat contemporary, but it's got some wood features in it which kind of soften it off a little bit. And I think probably the biggest thing, and Chris, you were there as well, I think the biggest thing is really the fact that it is a stunning view.
Yeah.
It's a great view.
That view, no one is going to take away from you. It's along the green belt.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that certainly I'm sure as long as you have the home, you're going to be in perpetuity, not having to worry about it.
You're looking right across the river, right toward the to Kamloops, right there.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Mike, what would you do if you won that home?
What would I do? I would put in a recording studio in the basement. I would make a music room. I would try to figure out how I could take back my space that my wife's taken away from me and demasculated me at my own home. But that being said, she would probably have her own ways of doing that. But awesome. Now, the Why Dream Home, that's a collaboration of TRU, Canadian Home Builders Association, and it's a fundraiser for the YMCA.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing this for?
Well, this is our 28th year. So I've been doing this right since the very beginning. So this is the 28th home that I've been a part of. And I say part of because I don't do it alone. I've got an amazing team of people that I work with and what we call the dream team. And it's done with them along the journey. So it really is a collab of a lot of people pulling things together. But 28 years of it, I mean, it's really run the test of time. It's been one of those things that I have to say, when we first started it, we thought, with any kind of a fundraiser, you kind of go, well, you know what, if you can get 5 years out of this, that's going to be great. And you kind of do a little victory lap. And then the 5 years went, and then it was 10 years, and then it was 15 years, and then it was 20 years. And then we celebrated the 25th, and we're going, holy smokes, this thing is building more traction. And I think it's really been embraced by the local community as a local lottery.
Yep.
And that's really what it is. I think that's the whole piece of this. This really doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the community, and the community loves it.
Well, Colin Reid mentioned that. He said at the evening I was at, 96 or 95% of all ticket sales are from the greater Kamloops area.
Absolutely.
Which is pretty amazing when you have, it's this relatively small city, and you have all those tickets,
Well,
right?
I think that's the big thing. I had someone mention to me once before, they said, you have to remember that when you're selling 40,000 tickets in this market, there's probably not many more than about 50 or 60,000 households.
That's right.
And so, it's not population, it's really the households. So you start looking at that, and the market penetration on that is you're pretty much in the door of every household in the city.
That's right.
So, it's pretty amazing. And I don't take that lightly, and I don't say that doesn't come without the fact that people have really bought into this. It really is a local community lottery.
The fundraising side of it, who specifically benefits from this?
The proceeds stay right here in Kamloops,
Yeah.
so they go to the
Yeah.
YMCA of BC, and it is we're going through an affiliacy joining of BCYs right now. But the funds raised will all stay here. And I think that's really important for people to know, because there's been some people saying, oh, well, maybe the funds are going to trickle out of our community.
Right.
They're not trickling. They're not going out in a big tsunami. They're not going anywhere. They're staying right here. So the dollars are going to stay here. And what it really does is it allows the Y to continue doing the amazing work they do.
Yep.
Now, that's whether it's the Women's Shelter Program that's administrated through there, it's senior programs, youth programs, community outreach, a lot of work in the mental health area, which we all know is one of those areas that we really need to grow in. So there's all of those, and there's also people that have limited amount of money. So the Y is one of those organizations. It's a charitable organization that people can apply for some funding assistance to put their kids and their family into the program. So when you ask what those dollars do, it's pretty wide in scope. It does a tremendous amount, but the big difference for us at the local Y is the fact that you and I won't notice those until those things are gone, and then all of a sudden we're looking for those services. They're no longer in our community, and we go, what the heck happened? Well, they're here because of this lottery. They're here because of the support of the community and people leaning in on a lottery like this.
The last thing I want to ask you about, and I hope it's me this year actually, because I bought a ticket too, but you're part of these moments that are life-changing for people. They win a home, their life is changed. Is there one that stands out, a family or a person who you were just overwhelmed with joy?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've made a difference in so many lives over the years with 28, and then of course the 50-50 lottery too. Right. I mean, it's doing really well in this lottery. It's already just about $600,000 in the jackpot and growing very nicely. But last year we were able to write a check for over $500,000 to somebody. So I'm hoping to write a check this year for $1 million. That would be nice. This has got the ability to grow. So all those things along the way have made a difference. But, is there one that's a real standout?
Yeah.
It would be really difficult. There's been some really great good news stories along the way, Marty. It's just been one of those things where, there's, I can think back on a woman who, had lost a husband and had a couple of kids still at home, a couple that had left and out on their own, but, was in a position where they were looking at possibly moving out of the province and away from Kamloops. And that just solidified the fact that she was able to stay here and continue to raise her family through that journey. And so she kept the home, lived in it, and raised the last two children at home there for about 5 or 6 years, and then she sold after that. So that was a really nice one. Again, another single mom that was able to stay here and have her daughter go to university because of it, and so they moved into a home as well. But in fairness, you have to think about it. I mean, it makes a big difference in people's lives But the reality is the home wasn't built for you or Mike or myself or any of us. It's really built to show the latest in trends and technology. So most people sell the home.
Yeah.
It's a tax-free home to you when you sell it. Because it is a registered lottery. So at the end of the day, if we say it's worth $1.3 million, as long as you sell it for that or anything less, there's absolutely no tax on that. And then you can turn around and you could build the home of your dreams as specific as you want it. So some people want RV parking, some people don't want anything. Mike's looking for a music studio.
Yeah, exactly.
He's looking for, a she shed maybe to move Monica out. I don't know. I mean, but she didn't hear that, I'm sure.
A she shed? Yes. Yeah.
Monica wants a place where she's not going to trip and break a bone.
Yeah.
She wants to.
Hot tub type.
Let me tell you how hard that's been.
The guy I remember most, the one person is the rock and roll guy who won the.
Oh, yeah,
he won the West Side.
Yeah.
And he lived
John.
on 12th Street, and he was renting, and he just loved playing music.
Yeah, he did.
And
he put a music studio in.
there, and he stayed there, didn't he?
Yeah, he lived there for, I don't know how many years John was there. I want to say about 6 or 7, but I could be wrong.
That's the one that
Time
I
flies.
Too many noise complaints, and he was.
Yeah. He loved it, though. I have to tell you,
he was a
it made a
cool
huge
guy.
difference in his life.
For sure, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it there.
All right.
Thank you, Bryce.
Thank
No, thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Hi, I'm gonna fix today.
Good morning, how you doing?
I'm okay, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. McHappy Day is coming, May 10th, am I right?
I think so.
Oh yeah, May 10th. How are you going to celebrate?
Probably by working.
Oh, I'm such a hard worker, always working. I'm going to take a bath in McChicken sauce. What do you think about that? Too much? Okay, can I just get 2 large coffees, please? Both with 2 cream.
Yeah, sure. Anything else for you today?
No, just want to say thank you, and I love shopping local right here at McDonald's.
That's great. Would you like to donate $1 to Ron McDonald's?
I absolutely would.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Logan Stankoven, Shaun Clouston, thanks for being here today. It's a big time of year. Playoffs. How long have you been waiting for this? Seattle Thunderbirds.
Since last season, just being able to kind of go through that experience and being on the losing end of it wasn't a good taste for us. So I think a lot of us are pretty motivated to have a good series here.
Yeah, there's interviews that stand out. You and I had one after that loss. You were emotional. You were unhappy with the team's performance, unhappy with your own performance. So how much did that motivate you throughout this whole season?
A lot. I think that's what we've all been building towards the whole year. It's been a lot of hard work put in the season, so hopefully it pays off.
I think most people would argue it's cemented no matter what happens here. But do you feel like you want a league title to cement your legacy in Canada? Is that what you were referring to? I mean, leaving on a positive note, leaving a legacy, or what were you referring to when you talked about that?
Yeah, obviously a league title would be nice. I think just it would be great for the city of Kamloops, and we have a really great group of guys in that room. Definitely one of the best, closest groups that I've been a part of. So it'd be nice to finish things off with, some of these guys I've played with for 3-4 years now.
Yeah, Shaun, just a stacked series. I mean, I think it's 19 NHL drafted players and more central scouting prospects. What's it like to be a part of this as a coach with so much talent on the ice?
I think for us, we've worked hard. We've had a real successful season in the regular season. We've got prepared and went after it in both playoff series. The guys have done a really good job with their training, with their practices, with their preparation. So, that's where we're at right now, and we've got a few days to get ready for Seattle.
I asked Matt Odette this yesterday, and I didn't expect him to give me any hard answers, but areas for exploitation on Seattle. I mean, I don't think you're going to give me specifics, but do you see some areas where you think, okay, we match up well in this area and we might be able to win a battle here?
You know what? We've just kind of started really looking at things in depth. We did play them a couple times, towards the end of the season. Most recently lost a game in Seattle and turned around and played at home, and that was kind of a crazy game where we jumped out to an early lead and they fought back and we got a third period goal. So I think it's going to be back and forth. I don't think it's one area that either team is going to be able to exploit. I think, there's going to be, some small adjustments. I think there's going to be some ups and downs. I think specialty teams always play a part in the series, with two talented hockey teams. I think discipline, therefore, becomes, really important. That balance between, playing really hard and going after it and doing everything we can to stay out of the penalty box. There was a game in Seattle. I think you guys won 3-2 in Seattle. And to me, that felt like a turning point, like a galvanizing moment. That Dylan Ernst played really well. I think it was a shootout. Semenoff scored in a shootout? Was it overtime?
Yeah, overtime, I think.
Anyway, that game, did that feel like a big moment for your team?
Yeah, big time. I think it gave us a lot of confidence knowing that we can play with the top teams in the league. And like you said, Seattle has a lot of drafted guys and some special players, so we're going to have to watch out for them.
I think, neither team in these playoffs so far has faced a whole lot of adversity. I mean, you've rolled through and destroyed the opposition. Both teams
haven't lost a game.
Haven't lost a game.
Yeah.
How important do you think it's going to be to react well when you do get punched in the mouth and face some of that adversity? I guess, Shaun, you can answer that one.
I guess sport. I mean, it's there's been different times of the season where we faced that and we just draw on those experiences. Remember when we played this team, or remember this stretch, and how do we get out of it? I think we've got a great leadership group that really understands what it takes, and you can't always get there every single time, but we know what that looks like, and we know how to reset and refocus when we get a little bit away from it.
At the end of the season, there was a lot written about the fans going to Kelowna and being very vocal, and you guys saluting your fans there and out cheering the Rockets fans. There were some important, but you said earlier you're expecting many more in Seattle. Is there an intangible boost? Do you guys notice the fans from Kamloops in these enemy barns, and what does it do to you guys? I know you're focused on the game, but does it help?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's nice having your hometown fans come and cheer you on and support you. It means a lot, especially for junior hockey.
Yeah.
A lot of people have jobs and are busy and stuff, so for them to come out, it's a good feeling.
So a few buses probably going down to Seattle next weekend, eh?
I'm not too sure, but that'd be nice.
Yeah, for sure.
How much is writing on this series for you? I mean, what does it mean to you, this series?
A lot. This could potentially be my last year with the Blazers, so I want to leave it all out there and do it for the guys next to me. And like I said before, we're a close group in there, so we want to battle for each other. And this year, hopefully, kind of get revenge on these guys for last year.
It's weird to think that this is going to be it for you, because we've been covering you since you were a kid. I mean, has it flown by for you as well?
Yeah, a lot. I think COVID had a lot to do with that too. Big chunk of that was gone because of that. So I just tried to do my part in making sure that I could develop over that kind of COVID stint and come back ready to go once the puck was about to drop.
Do you pay attention to what's said in the media during a series by opposing teams, coaches, players? I mean, are you, just in case there's a slip, maybe they give away a strategy, and most people, I mean, as yourself too, you'll be cagey with us and not tell us exactly what you're thinking, but do you pay attention just in case they slip?
I don't.
No.
Tim will come in and share something, or Keener will come in and share something, but I don't really look.
Yeah. Give me your breakdown of their team. I mean, what is there's so many strengths, but
yeah, just a really talented team, very deep at all positions. I mean, they've got good goaltending. They got very solid deep back end, and probably the deepest group of forwards in the league. They play hard. They've got real good structure. Good in the offensive zone, good through the neutral zone. You really have to battle and compete and manage pucks and do everything you can to create chances. They don't give up easy stuff. It's going to be a real battle.
Logan, we'll, I guess, end on this one here. We've talked about fans in Seattle, traveling to Seattle, but your barn's been a fortress so far. The Sandman Center, 4-0 now in these playoffs. So a message to the fans, games 3 and 4, I mean, what would you like to see from them?
They've been great. For me growing up as a kid, I went to lots of games and playoffs and everything, and this is probably the best I've seen it. So the support has been definitely noticed by us players, and we can't thank them enough for coming out, and hopefully we can have the same for games 3 and 4.
Mike, do you have anything? I know you're a massive hockey guy, but
No, I think that as the music ambassador of the show, I guess I'm excited for you guys and what's going on. You're creating a real good buzz. So good luck with the games. I'm cheering you on. So
Absolutely. No, games 3 and 4. Let's look at the dates. What
they're next Tuesday and Thursday,
right? Okay. Good.
Why the no Wednesday? Like, why not back-to-backs? Do you know, or are they just?
Yeah, there's lots of things that go into making the schedule. I think we don't start till Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday would be 4 games in 5 nights to start a series. So, try to spread it out just a little bit.
Okay, one last question I asked Logan already, but what's riding on this for you, Shaun? This series.
Again, I don't think about that very much. I think my job is to get the players ready, and so that's the main focus. We've got a few days to prepare here. So the first step was getting a lay of the land, saying what are we going to do with our time. So we took some time off. We came in and had a practice yesterday. Guys had tons of energy, just mostly a skating practice to really get our feet moving. Today we'll recap some video. We'll start looking and talking about Seattle. We won't go on the ice. I think that this has been a nice little stretch to get sort of refreshed and re-energized. And then we've got kind of a process that we go through if we have a week off during the regular season, and we just kind of stick to that process. And pretty soon it's game day, and we get ready for the game. So that's really how I approach it. And I think if we do a real good job and we have a good week and we prepare, the way we always prepare and push on game day, then I think it'll be a competitive series.
Well, you guys have put together a team that I've never seen the likes of since I've been here. The city in the last, 20 plus years.
It's the best team this
never
century,
seen
for sure.
this, so
Yeah,
I've never been this excited to cover a series. It's been great to cover you for your whole career, so I wish you guys all the best. I know the whole city does too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, but
I'm going to have all these questions. It's going to be like, hey, in the third round of this and this, and what do you think of that?
Yeah, I surprised you there. I like you guys. I like music. Okay, let's wrap the show. Christopher, your thoughts?
Good show. Katie Neustaeter was very enlightening as always, and lots to say there. And it's good to have her on because she was the impetus of that motion that is dominating conversation, not just locally, not just provincially, but nationally. Because a lot of cities have and are now doing that, and Kamloops has been cited as a city that's trying to take control of the problem. And what she said was really good.
I thought she did a good job handling the question on mayor and council. I think she's probably ready for it and had a good spin on it. The fact that there was some positive signs with the mayor. So hey, let's take it for what it was, and hopefully that's a good starting
There
point
has
for
been
them.
some stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've said, it's you could say it's dysfunctional council, and I guess you could depend on how you define dysfunction. But they are actually functioning. They're getting a lot of shit done.
Yeah.
And so they're not really dysfunctional. There's a lot of infighting, but they're getting a lot of stuff done.
Good.
If you follow the council.
Mike, your thoughts on the show?
On the show, I like the show. I think it's probably our best ever improv.
Oh man, yeah.
But it's always good to see. Like Katie's really well spoken, and she makes me excited about what's going on. And I think it was a good show in general.
Yeah, we might actually have room for a lot more sponsors by the end of this show based on that improv. But we do want to thank our sponsors that we have. We can't do the show without them. Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. Stephen Rogers, my guy, Gord Stevens, we thank you so much for your support. Terry Lowe at Volkswagen at Kamloops, thank you so much for sponsoring the Magic Mirror, brought to you by Volkswagen. Brandy Seacon at McDonald's. McHappy Days coming up on May 10th. The Kamloops Wide Dream Home Lottery, thank you so much for your support. For Christopher Folds, Magic Mike, and Bill, we'll see you last week.